And tonight we're fortunate enough on the Undisputed Wrestling Show to have none other than BJ Whitmer with us. BJ, how you doing?
I'm good, Q. How are you, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Listen, I tend to be a ball hog on a show, so I'm going to start off different tonight and pass it over to my buddy Drew Skills to ask you a couple questions, and then Zane, and then I'll come right back to me.
Okay, cool.
BJ, what's going on, my brother?
What's up, Drew? Long time no see, man.
Yeah, man. Was you able to make it to that HWA reunion last weekend or a couple weekends ago?
No, I was actually in Milwaukee, and I was at Hopkins, Minnesota, outside of Minneapolis there for Ring of Honor that weekend, so I didn't make it in to the HWA reunion that happened.
Right on. Yeah, I was in Cleveland. I missed it as well. Well, if you could, man, let our listeners know how you got your start in this crazy wrestling business, man. Break it down on how you got started.
I trained with Les Thatcher at the old Main Event Pro Wrestling Center or whatever it was called there in Evendale, Ohio. Started out there in January, I guess, of '99. It would have been. Dating myself here, showing my age a little bit. And, started reffing after like the first couple months, and then did a battle royal, I guess, around October, November, and then officially had my first like singles match in January of 2000. And I just kind of hit the ground running, tried to stay as busy as possible, tried to work as many places with as much different talent as I could, and just kept the ball rolling from there.
Awesome, man. I remember when I started, I started coming in 2000 and training on the weekends with the Extremist, Shane Nicholson, there at Les Thatcher's Main Event Pro Wrestling Camp. And it wasn't there too long after that we got the developmental deal. And I remember, man, you just blowing it up with those guys. Tell us about that and your work with Jamie Noble.
Yeah, like when they first brought the influx of those guys in, there wasn't a whole lot of like HWA talent that was kept on the shows, and I really wasn't. I mean, I was doing some shots here and there occasionally, like that we were having, but there was so many guys, because it was guys from like WWE that they weren't using on TV that they were sending down, and then they brought in a whole crew of guys, mostly cruiserweights from the buyout of WCW. And trying to think, my dates are messed up, but the match that like really kind of like had those guys kind of take notice and was like, hey, we want to start working some with this guy. I had a match with Shannon Moore there, and we tore the hell one of the Tuesday night shows there at the training center, which you could only fit maybe standing room only, maybe 150. I would say closer maybe to 125 people. But we tore the house down, and it was after that match with Shannon, where Shannon went back to those guys and was like, look, he's pretty good, man. We need to start working more with him. And after that, I was on like almost every show from there on out, which led into me and Jamie teaming for a while. And then they did a deal where we turned, and then we like had several matches for the HWA Cruiserweight belt at that time.
Yeah, man, I remember those matches. Those matches were really good. I was lucky enough as a greenhorn there to go on the road to NWA Wildside with you and Matt Stryker. We made a few trips, and I remember one trip in particular we brought Nigel down with us. You remember that one?
Yeah. Well, me and Stryker had met Bill. We had went down to when TNA was doing their weekly Wednesday pay-per-views. Me and Stryker had been down to do a couple dark matches, and had talked to Bill Behrens, who was kind of in charge of getting the guys for the dark matches. And he just always was like, look, if there's any weekend that you guys have off that you would like to work, he's like, I can't pay you a whole lot. He's like, but you can come down and work the Wildside TV taping. You know, if you have any guys that are looking for work, you can throw them in the car with you or whatever. And that was one of those deals like where we knew you wanted to work, grabbed you along, and I think Nigel only went down maybe once with us, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was one time, and it was the funniest thing in the world. If you remember, we stopped at Golden Corral, and I remember we were all pretty good shape. We had the tank tops on, and this young lady was our waitress, nice lady. She comes over and she says, man, you guys are all in really good shape. You guys bodybuilders or football players? And Nigel looks up to her and says, no, we just all do steroids. And the look on her face, it was the funniest thing in the world. But yeah, man, those were really good times. I know it wasn't too long thereafter that you broke out, man, went to the East Coast, and you and Stryker started doing some Ring of Honor.
Yeah, it was right around that same time. We were just starting with Ring of Honor, and we were working a little bit for Bill on like off weekends and stuff like that. And that was back in the early days of ROH. I want to say our first show was maybe their like 11th or 12th show total, something like that. It was in January of 2003, and right outside of Pittsburgh. And yeah, I had a really good match that night, and Gabe just kept. I did, and Strager did as well, and Gabe pretty much booked us from there on out for a while.
Right on. I know when they really took off there was, it was always kind of in the indies. I was at HWA for a while before I actually, I did some stuff with you, riding with you guys at Wildside and a couple other little things, but I didn't really get, Russ wasn't very big on people going and wrestling outside of for him, especially the greener that you were. So, once I finally started to get out there, man, Ring of Honor was doing good. And you, Circle City Saints, and Matt Striker, man, you guys really did a lot for bringing the spotlight to Midwest wrestling, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I just I wanted to work as much as I could and get my name out there as much as I could. And I knew that if I can kind of do that on the indie scene and kind of blow up on the indie scene, it would, reverberate back to the HWA and make the HWA look good.
Right on, for sure. You got a tour in Japan pretty early on. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was actually doing some shows for Harley Race back in 2000 and 2001, and it just so happened that I want to say, my dates are probably off here. Misawa had split away from All Japan and took like almost the whole crew of guys with him. They all left except for like two, I think. And he had started Pro Wrestling Noah, and he was looking for some like unknown foreign talent, unknown American guys to bring in. And he had contacted Harley Race about doing a tryout there in Eldon, Missouri. And at the time, I was just doing some shows for Harley. Harley thought I had a little bit of talent, so he invited me out for a tryout. And it was like 8 hours, I think, one way I drove out. And I was one of like the 3 or 4 guys that got picked. And it just so happened that I had my passport already, and ended up leaving. I think that was like a Thursday, Friday, something like that, or Wednesday, Thursday. Came home Friday, packed up my stuff, had a show to do in Chicago on Saturday, and then flew to Honolulu, I think, on like Sunday, and got my work visa, and then was in Japan the next day. It was like a really quick thing. They needed some guys, and I just happened to be lucky enough. They were going to use me regardless, but the fact that I had a passport and stuff kind of like hot-shotted my opportunity, and I got to go pretty much right away.
Well, we definitely took advantage of the opportunity. You guys were listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show on Angry Marks Podcast Network. Let me kick it over. I don't want people saying I'm Paul Hogan tonight because I got my buddy on here, but let me go ahead and kick it over to Cue Ball Carmichael.
Hey, BJ, let me ask you a question. When was the defining moment when you decided that you wanted to be a professional wrestler? Usually for a lot of us, it starts when we're a kid, but when was that moment when you realized this is what I want to do and why?
Well, I fell in love with professional wrestling as a child. First time I saw it on TV, I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And I followed it, up until my teenage years, got into high school, and then kind of got away from the business, away from wrestling and watching it and stuff. Got interested in other things in life. And then, I guess it was about the time, I want to say around 96 maybe, when wrestling started to blow up a little bit again.
Right.
I kind of reignited my love for it, like watching some stuff like WCW and seeing this stuff going on, like when like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash jumped over, and I was like, whoa, what is going on here? Because you never saw, like when I was a kid, nobody ever talked about the other companies. It was like theirs was the only product around, and they didn't recognize any other group. And all of a sudden, with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash showing up on that TV show, and at the time they were playing it off like they had been sent there by Vince, basically, which I'm pretty sure ended up getting WCW sued in the whole deal. But it was just it caught my interest again. I was like, whoa, what is going on, kind of thing. And fell back in love with it, I guess. And I knew at that point that I wanted to wrestle. I wanted to at least give it a try while I was still young. Problem was that when I graduated high school in 1996, I was about 160 pounds at 6'2", so I knew that there was no was really no spot for a guy 6'2" and 160 in the wrestling business. So I got into lifting weights and bodybuilding type stuff like that and learned as much as I could about that until I got up to about the 200-pound range, I guess, which took me, I started working out in 96 up until, I guess, when I started training about 99 before I actually got to like 200, 205 pounds, where I felt, I can, at least if I get up to 200 pounds, that's more respectable to me than trying to step in at like 170 pounds or something like that at 6'2", and just, kept working out. And, that just really became a way of life, like the training, lifestyle did. And, just happened to have a talent for it when I showed up at Les's and, took to it really quick and, been at it ever since. But yeah, I definitely fell in love with it as a child. Like I said, kind of got away from it as a teenager, but got back to it eventually.
You're listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show on AngryMarks.com. We're talking to our friend BJ Whitmer. BJ, didn't you have a pretty severe neck injury a couple of years back?
Yeah, in 2013, I was working with Mike Bennett at a Ring of Honor show in Toronto. And it was part of like the world title tournament or whatever. And we knew everybody was going to be going out there in those matches and trying to steal the show. So, we had decided for one of the false finishes to do a pile driver on the apron. And when we did it, like the apron was like, cause one of the rings that Ring of Honor used to use had really wide aprons so you could do stuff on the aprons.
Right.
Well, that ring broke, and we were using one of the older ones that the aprons were a little more narrow. And we thought about it. We're like, yeah, we can pull this off. Well, when we went to do it, my head slipped through, and kind of like the same accident that happened when Stone Cold took that pile driver from Owen Hart. My head hit before anything else did, and I think they call it axial loading on your C-spine, and it bruised my spinal cord in between the C3 and C4 vertebrae. And there for about 2 minutes, I couldn't move the right side of my body, and pretty scary. And ended up taking like 4 months off after that, but then came back in December of 2013 and stuff. And what the hold up on that, like I didn't know if I was going to have my neck fused because I also bulged a disc as well besides the bruise on the spinal cord. So it was kind of one of those things is like, because if I had to have my neck fused, then you're looking at it minimum of a year out. And I was like, that was the kind of thing. Like, if I got to take a year off, then I don't even know if I could come back at that, at that time. And so it was kind of up in the air until the doctor said, yeah, you're not going to need your neck fused. And I was like, yeah, let's make come back and keep going for a couple more years.
Yeah, that's so lucky you didn't break it doing that, and there's just no room for margin for error there, especially in a narrow ring apron, man. Crazy stuff. But for one guy with neck trouble,
it was a stupid call to do it. But I mean, you're out there trying to steal the show, trying to make you march.
Sure.
Some stupid stuff sometimes.
Well, in retrospect, it didn't seem like a good idea, but at the time, it probably seemed like a great idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now you're still at Ring of Honor with my buddy Steve Carino, who's there as an announcer, and his son Colby. And now. You started with Ring of Honor, a long time ago, right? When was it? It was in its infancy stages, pretty much.
Yeah. Like I said, it was January of 2003. I want to say they started in February of 2002, and I don't think they were doing quite one show a month. So it was like in between like the 11th and 13th show, probably. I'm just guessing on that. I would actually have to go back and look and see how many shows they had run. But yeah, it was basically in its infancy when I started. And worked there pretty much continuous up until 2008. And, was going to take some time off and ended up getting a tour of Japan after I put my notice in with Ring of Honor that I needed some time off. I was going to take like 6 months off in, 2008. Ended up, long story short, I tore my wrist up in Japan, came home, had to have surgery and some pins put in my wrist and stuff. And then, that 6 months turned into 2.5 years taking off.
Right.
And that was one of those things where, I got out of shape and it was one of those things, I'll start to the gym on Monday. Well, I'll start next Monday. Well, no, let's make it next Monday. And before you know it, 2 years has rolled by. It's one of the things. When I was working a regular shoot job, I was managing the GNC here in my hometown. So, I was doing okay. And it was one of those things where I was working 40 plus hours a week. And, before I realized it was like, oh, crap, 2 years has rolled by and I'm way out of shape and, if I want to wrestle again, I'm going to need to do it now. So
you're done pretty good, brother.
Yeah, this last run's been pretty fun, man. I can't, it took me about a year or so from the time I started back wrestling to get back with Ring of Honor. But then, I've pretty much been booked with them solid since I got back with them in 2012.
Beautiful. Well, that's fantastic, especially after, sometimes you take that much time off, you come back, you're almost starting over again. You gotta say to yourself, geez, is it really worth it or not? But it's good that you got back into ROH pretty quick. Probably lifted your spirits a lot. Hey, Zane Paisley, you got a question for my friend BJ Whitmer?
Yeah, BJ, thanks once again for coming on. The first thing I want to hit, though, is how can our listeners follow your career, and what kind of social media do you keep?
I've got a Twitter. It's at DJ_Whitmer. I got a Facebook. I'm not on there too often. I'm not on either one a whole lot, to be honest, but I do have those. And then, like I said, I'm pretty much booked solid with Ring of Honor pretty much on everything they're on. So you can always go to ROHWrestling.com to see the schedule, stuff like that. And then I work pretty regular for AIW Wrestling out of Cleveland as well. Those guys helped me out a lot when I was making my comeback in 2011. It really gave me a platform to show that I still had it and got me noticed other places. So those are the two main places that I keep working. I mean, I've been out since July. I had ACL surgery in July, so that's why I've kind of been on the shelf. I was lucky enough that Ring of Honor kept me booked and kept me in an on-air role, kind of as a manager, and they've had me doing some commentary and stuff like that. So I'm forever grateful for them for keeping me booked, because most of the time you get hurt and have surgery and you're not able to work, then they don't keep you on TV. So I was very lucky that they kept me on.
Well, your program with King Carino has been awesome. It's been really great.
Thank you.
Yeah. We had Mary Elizabeth Monroe, and now she's known as Kelly Klein, on a few weeks ago. Great interview. But she's been doing a lot more with Women of Honor. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, it's been something that Hunter Johnston who is the booker with Ring of Honor, has been wanting to do for a while. I think it's kind of he's been trying to convince some of the higher ups within Ring of Honor and Sinclair that this is something that we should do, kind of the Women of Honor stuff. And right now they're starting out as just like YouTube exclusive matches that are done at the live events and at the TV tapings and stuff like that. But I believe the goal of it is for there to be like standalone shows, like Women of Honor shows and stuff. But you kind of got to find the girls that you want and kind of build a roster and kind of, I don't know if it's like tryout matches with the ones that are on the matches they're having now at the live events, but they're trying to bring some of the girls in, or some of the women in, with a little substance and a little character. That's why, like, Taylor Hendricks is with the House of Truth. They've got Kelly with me in the Decade gimmick. So trying to give, some of the girls, so they're not just bringing in these girls off the indies, they're giving them a little character and a little substance to them. But yeah, I believe the goal of the Women of Honor is to eventually do some standalone, maybe, 2 or 3 shows a year of just standalone Women of Honor shows.
Well, that would be awesome. What's the buzz around the water cooler there with the new TV deal that you guys have?
I didn't really. We just did take 3 weeks of TV in Nashville last weekend, this past Friday, and I actually had class until noon that day, and then raced down to Nashville, which was like a 4.5-hour drive. So by the time I got there, I went right into production meeting and kind of went over the show and stuff like that. Didn't really have a chance to hear the buzz or anything, because I'm also doing some agent work with Ring of Honor. So then I went production meeting and then went to the guys who the matches I needed to go to and stuff like that. So I didn't really have a chance. I went right to work pretty much as soon as I got there. So I didn't really have a chance to hear what the buzz was or anything like that. But I don't think, from what I read about it, that we lost any the number of homes that we can be seen in. I don't think it went down any, but I don't think it really went up a whole lot. I think it might have went up slightly with the number of eyes that have access to us now. So yeah, I didn't really hear a whole lot though. Like I said, I went right to work as soon as I got to the building.
Well, one of the things that I'm thankful for is that Ring of Honor is going to be coming to Indianapolis in January for a set of tapings. That's where Drew and I are based out of. So looking forward to seeing you there. With this being Thanksgiving week, what are some things that you're thankful for?
Well, like Ring of Honor keeping me on throughout this knee surgery. I'm extremely thankful for that. Family and friends and stuff. The normal Thanksgiving, time to be thankful. You should be thankful all year round. I mean, this is, for everything and any of the blessings you have in life. You shouldn't just, bring it down to just one day throughout the year. You should kind of be thankful. That's just my personal belief. Kind of be grateful and thankful throughout the rest of the year as well. But yes, this is the day they stick it on. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick it back to Cue Ball Carmichael. Thanks so much for talking with me.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure. I just wanted to give a shout out to our buddy Steve Carino, who has, BJ, as you probably know, had neck surgery last Monday. And I talked to him a couple times this week. He's doing good, but I think it's a lot more work than he thought, but he's hanging in there doing good. So I want to shout out to Steve. What's the next, give me a 5-year look. What do you want to be doing in 5 years, BJ? Where you want to be?
Well, right now I'm not only working like full time with Ring of Honor, I'm also a full time student. I'm in nursing school right now, and I'm just wrapping up my second semester in nursing school. So I'll have 4 more semesters of nursing school after this. So luckily enough, all my prereqs and all my gen ed courses, all those are out of the way. So I only have nursing classes to concentrate on. So finish up with that. We're kind of looking into maybe going into physician's assistant school after that, for a master's degree program. So, and as long as I can keep wrestling, I don't want to go too much past 40, because I turned 38 and here I am dating myself and showing my age, turned 38 in January. But, right now I'm rehabbing this knee coming back from this, ACL surgery. And honestly, I feel pretty good and I'm going to be in the best shape of my life when I come back. I've been working my ass off to get back into even better shape than what I was in before I had the surgery and stuff, which is hard when you're 38. It ain't like when you're 25 and you can heal real quick and it doesn't take much work to get back into that type of shape. But, as long as I can keep wrestling, I want to keep doing it. I have a blast doing it. I'm getting paid to travel all over the country. And, you just can't beat it. So as long as I'm able to do it and as long as I can hang with these younger guys, I'm going to keep doing it. But eventually I'm going to have to, use the degree I'm going to end up getting and have to get a regular shoot job. And that'll be okay. I'll have gotten wrestling out of my system by then. Hopefully, I'll be ready to settle down and start that part of my life in a few years. So I would say within 5 years, I'll be done for sure. Probably more like in the 3 to 4 year range.
It's funny. I always tell everybody you got to have an exit strategy because the one thing you can be assured with the wrestling, whenever you start, age is going to take you out of the game at a certain point. So you better have something going on for yourself after that. So I commend you. I go to nursing school. I think it's, I more the young guys need to do that instead of putting so much weight into wrestling because, it just in the last 15 years, it's changed. I mean, there's really one place in the U.S. that you want to work at. I mean, if you're going to make huge money, we know that. I mean,
you can get by and make enough money to pay your bills at places like Ring of Honor and TNA. If you want to make enough possibly to where you aren't really going to have to work again, you've got to work for WWE. You just have to. That's the only place to be making, 6 figures up into the 7 figures, into the $1 million range. That's the only place. But so anybody that's working like TNA, Ring of Honor, stuff like that, you're going to have to, and it's getting up there in age, you're going to have an exit strategy.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant plan. I mean, a good buddy of mine, Luke Gallows, works a lot in Japan, and like he told me, he said if it wasn't for Japan, he might have to get a real job. But, and that's lesser of two evils. Do I want to go there, 30 days at a time, every other month, or do I want to stay here? And if you stay here, you're going to be, if you go to WWE, you're going to be on the road, 5 days a week. So there's got to be some balance in it. And as I say with some of the guys who do good things with TNA, my buddy Shane Helms, who I worked for Saturday night in Omega Wrestling, he does a lot of producing and stuff at TNA and talent acquisition and stuff like that. But, with those places, like you said, you can get by, you can pay your bills, but you still need an exit strategy for, what is life going to bring me after wrestling? Is it going to bring me working, for $8 an hour pumping gas in Jersey? Or is it going to, have a career for me where I can live and have a decent lifestyle after that? So I think more people need to think about that exit plan, especially when they're younger, and get it in motion a little bit. Because, probably the great thing, I know with TNA, the great thing with working with Ring of Honor is you've actually got that free time where you can go to school, which is fantastic. So.
Yeah, which is nice. Their schedule, it's all like Friday, Saturday type deal. So, most of the time I tried this semester, I ended up having to have a Friday class, but most of the time I schedule my classes like Monday through Thursday. So that way, if I get out of class Thursday at a decent time, I can fly out Thursday night sometimes, or, Friday morning for Friday show. Sometimes they'll do it. I like to fly out on Thursday nights, but, if not, fly out Friday morning, do shows, get home Saturday afternoon or Sunday evening, or, afternoon sometime, do a little homework and stuff. And then I've got the rest of the week, the week to, all I got to do is go to school and go to the gym. It's not a bad little deal.
Beautiful. I'm going to throw it back to you, Drew Skills. You're listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show at AngryMarks.com. Drew Skills, fire away.
BJ, we talked earlier about your first trip to Japan. How many trips you made over now?
Let me see what I do. 2001, 5.
5, right on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I did 2 in 2001. First one was June of 2001, and that was, like I said, that was the quick turnaround where, I raced home from Harley's, got some stuff packed up, drove to Chicago and did a show, and then flew from there. I think it was there to LA to Honolulu, was there for a day to get our work visas taken care of, and then went right on tour. The next one I went on was like November, December of 2001, which was a long one, which was like 3.5 weeks. It was like 20 some odd days, which was cool. I liked the longer tours like that. Some guys don't like them, but I didn't mind it. Working like 5 nights a week. So you don't have a whole lot of downtime. But on that second tour, it was, the American that was on that tour, it was Too Cold Scorpio, Big Van Vader, Mike Modest, Donovan Morgan, Richard Slinger, which is Terry Gordy's nephew, I believe, who had trained in the All Japan dojo back in the late 80s, and then myself. I think there were 6 Americans on that tour. And then I went back again, I want to say it was like 2005. And that was like another 3-weeker. And then Ring of Honor went over for a couple shows in 2007. And then I did that last tour in 2008. But, I just tried to be a sponge when I was over there and tried to learn as much as I could. And it seemed like every time I went, my in-ring work improved, like leaps and bounds. You can learn a ton from those guys in that style and, working 5 nights a week. Sometimes we would do 6 shows in a row and then get a day or 2 off, and then a show or 2, and then a day or 2 off. It was rare to get 2 days in a row off, but it would happen occasionally. But yeah, the Ring of Honor shows, we were only over there for like 4 or 5 days. I think we did like 2 shows in like 4 or 5 days, something like that.
Hey, BJ, did you ever get a Ribeiro jacket?
Yes, I did. I made sure and got that on my first tour over there. It's still hanging in my closet, actually.
Very nice.
I don't wear it a whole lot, but it's one of those things that's got a lot of sentimental value to it. Just like for me, is because it's one of those things that, any American that went to Japan ended up getting one of those jackets, and you see the pictures, like they have pictures of all the boys that have been in there, like all over the years, and to know that you got one of those jackets to me was, one of those things that it meant a lot to me.
Well, BJ, talk about your jacket and it's sentimental, and you and Q were talking about an exit plan. What are some of your fondest moments up to date so far with your careers? What are BJ Whitmer's highlights from BJ Whitmer?
Oh, wow. Wow, put me on the spot here. My feud with Jimmy Jacobs stands out.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We just tried kind of like kept pushing the limit and raising the bar a little bit on the shit we would do. Oh, crap. Am I allowed to say?
You're good, brother.
You can say whatever.
Okay. I didn't know what kind of audience this was aimed at. Just like shit flipped out there. But the stuff we were doing.
Me and Q-Ball Carmichael and Zane Paisley, bro. What do you think's going on?
Okay. We good then. Trying to think, like the 30-minute Ironman match I had with Jerry was one of those things where, like, I watched Jerry, when I was training, having those killer matches in '99 with Rob Van Dam. You get to go out there and actually, do some of the spots that I watched those guys do, which he got a kick out of. Like, hey man, can we do? When I was, we were going over stuff. I was like, hey, can we do this? And he's like, it was cool that he wanted to do that kind of stuff, and he worked really hard for me. The barbed wire match I had with Necro Butcher at Ring of Honor stands out. It's one of my favorite matches. And for me, that was like a proud moment for me because I proved that, I could do one of those like ultra hardcore matches but still make it make sense. Right. And wasn't just doing it for the sake of doing it, which that happens a lot of cases in that, that death match environment and those promotions. They just do it for the sake of doing it, where there was like actually a story built up behind this and the way the match was put together and stuff. So I was really proud of that.
With one of the top hardcore guys.
What's that?
I was just saying, with one of the top hardcore guys.
Yeah. And
you were able to do that.
And I always had really good chemistry with Necro, and always had really good matches. I think we had a couple matches that weren't even like hardcore matches for like Ian, and I was like, whoa, man, this guy can actually like he's like that's the thing with Necros. He's just not this hardcore guy. He could actually wrestle, but he got he fell into that. He fell into that. I don't know if it was like he fell into that mode to where that's all people wanted to pay him to do, which he could actually work when he, if somebody would pay him to do that, he can actually do that. But I guess I'm, proud of my longevity with Ring of Honor as well. To started, so long ago and still be there, and for them to put stock, in me still, and to put me in, be able to be in one of the top TV angles that we had going. That was, a proud moment for me too. The program we had going with Steve and stuff, and bringing Colby in and the depth that storyline had. And to me, I felt it was a very compelling storyline, and a very compelling angle. There's so much stuff I've done. Being able to go to Japan, being able to work for Harley. I'm helping Les, train some guys here, and it's about 45 minutes from where I live in Hamilton, Ohio, and being able to give back and help Les out and stuff like that, and help him, pass on the knowledge that I've picked up, not only from him but from everywhere else I've been. I'm proud of that too. But, there's just so much stuff, man, to try and just name it all off right now. It'd be damn near impossible for me.
For sure, man. I'm sure that training with Les is gonna be a blast.
Oh yeah. And I'm in there rolling around with the guys and doing the fives, the triple fives, all those blow up drills,
right,
stuff like that. I mean, I'm just now getting back to where I can do that stuff with the ACL surgery, because I'm only 18, 19 weeks post-op right now, so I'm like 4.5 months. Yeah. And I was when I'm started rolling around a couple. What's that?
You running triple fives?
Yeah, I ran triple fives last week for the first time since the surgery. And I'd went up a couple times and was just doing like some regal rolls and, bouncing around a little bit and stuff like that. But then it's like, you know what? I had my brace on, of course. I'm not gonna do anything without the brace on. And I started doing, some blow up drills and stuff like that. It felt pretty good. So
you got your big Don Joy brace?
I'm not just saying. What's that?
I said you got your big Don Joy brace.
Oh yeah, buddy. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, see, I've been wearing one of those. See, that's what a lot of people don't know is I just had the surgery in July of this year, but I tore my ACL, my left knee, back May of 2014. So I worked 14 months with no ACL in that knee.
Wow.
Yeah, which is insane when you think about it. But, I did what I had to do.
Mine.
Yeah, mine was torn too, but with mine, I didn't tear the meniscus at all, which is very rare. When somebody blows an ACL, when you completely tear it, normally the torque that is on the joint causes the cartilage of the meniscus to tear as well. But for some reason, mine was a clean ACL tear, and no meniscus was damaged. So I was able to. I worked 5 days after I did it, which wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done. So that definitely ranks up there on stupid stuff I've done, along with the pile driver on the apron. But I worked 14 months with a Don Joy on, no ACL, to where it got to the point where, I talked to the surgeon, and he's like, you're wrecking your knee right now by doing what you do with no ACL. I was like, yeah. So I got myself into position. I talked with Ring of Honor, and I was hot enough as a heel or a villain that they were like, yeah, we'll keep you on TV cutting promos and stuff. So that's the only way I was able to have the surgery done. Otherwise, if they wouldn't have kept me on TV, I'd probably still be working with no ACL and just finished up, in the next couple of years and then had the surgery done. But they were gracious enough to keep me on TV that I was able to get the surgery done and get my knee fixed.
Well, brother, it sounds like your recovery is going great, and you've been a top guy on the indie scene for quite some time, so I'm sure there's a lot of highlights you got going on. We're on the Undisputed Wrestling Show. You're listening to Drew Skills, Q-Bar Carmichael, and Zane Paisley. We got our guest, BJ Whitmer, on the line with us. Q, what else you got for BJ?
BJ, I always say being an indie superstar is like being the smartest guy in prison. When you finally get out, neither one means a thing. That's so true. What do you got coming up for Ring Honor?
Let me see. We got Final Battle at the old ECW arena. What do they call that now? The 2300 arena or something like that on December 18th.
Viking Hall.
Viking Hall, yeah, whatever they call it. Changed its name so many times over the last couple of years. We have Final Battle there Friday, December 18th, which is actually going to be live on pay-per-view. So Ring of Honor is trying to because Friday night's never been a night for wrestling pay-per-views, so they're trying to get theirs branded to where it's on the Friday nights. Something new we've done I think the last pay-per-view was a Friday night. But they're trying something new to see if it works. And then we have the TV taping. We'll probably tape 3 or 4 episodes of TV the next day on Saturday on the 19th. And then I know we're taping TV in January, and we'll say right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And then we've got 2 Midwest shots, Indianapolis and I believe St. Louis. And then there's 2 more shots in January. So there's I think there's 5 shows in January and got 3 in December, something like that. So they're keeping us pretty busy.
Well, BJ, listen, it was great talking to you. I on behalf of the show, want to thank you and also wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Drew, you want to finally wind up with anything with BJ?
Hey, BJ, it's always great to get to touch base with you, my brother. Thank you very much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, you guys. And all you guys have a good Thanksgiving as well.